Hoardganize Podcast. I am your host, professional organizer Rachel Seavey, and it's time to get organized. Hi, everyone. Today we're talking about how to prepare for a big clean out. Now, this is a topic that's very near and dear to my heart. I know some of you saw my Instagram post last week. I was a little bit stressed out during a big clean out, and that's actually why I delayed putting this out. I wanted to make sure I wasn't too emotional when I was recording this. So preparing for a big cleanup is really a big deal. I mean, I know most of you are terrified about the thought of having a crew come in and clean up your home, but you know, there are different reasons why you might have a crew be coming in to clean up your home. You know, sometimes the city or the county is involved. Sometimes neighbors have reported you to Adult Protective Services. And you might not quite be ready for a cleanup, but you're pretty much being forced to clean up or you're going to lose your home. So sometimes this happens a lot. This is currently a few different cases that I've worked on this month, is where people can't come home from the hospital until their home is livable. You know, they'll be coming back in a walker or they'll be coming back in a wheelchair, and they absolutely need that critical space to recoup from whatever event they were in the hospital about. Other people's, are just upset with their clutter and they want to take massive immediate action. So they've hired a crew to come help them clean up their home. So whatever reason puts you into this predicament, I've got some tips for you that are helpful for you and that are also helpful for the people that'll be helping you clean your home. So tip number 1, which is a really big one, and this is something that a lot of people don't even think of, but make a list of things that are important to you. Go room by room on your list and start writing down things that are important to you. You know, whether you're actually on the job site, you might be in the hospital and not able to be, it's very, very helpful for us to understand the kinds of things that are important to you. Everybody's so different. And so it's really not easy to guess. I mean, we're really good at identifying and recovering valuables. I mean, we find money all the time, gift cards, jewelry, photographs, important documents. Those are really obvious to us. These are things that all clean out companies have been trained to keep and to identify and to separate and maybe to photograph even. So that kind of stuff is really obvious. You know, pink slips, birth certificate, death certificate. We're all over stuff like that. And we're all very thorough for the most part. So you really want to kind of make a list of the things that go a little bit above and beyond, you know, your average valuables. We're all really good at recovering valuables that are obvious. So I'd like to share a little story with you. You know, one time we did a big clean out and there was a lot of electronic waste, you know, DVDs, VCR, VHS, things like that, players that were just antiquated and that needed to be recycled at the landfill. And so we opened up a cupboard and it was just chock full of, you know, old kind of electronics that needed to be disposed of. And, you know, we asked the person, is it okay to dispose of this stuff? And she said yes. And come to find out, we had actually thrown away an answering machine that had her deceased husband leaving her a nice voicemail on. And so she had completely forgotten about it. I mean, we were not aware of it. We had no idea. Now, you know, I definitely ask when I come across old answering machines, you know, with the little tapes like back in the day, like we used to have. But, you know, it's things like this that you don't know. I know that I've inadvertently thrown away somebody's mother's flowers from the grave, but they were not obvious. I mean, they were like behind a sofa, underneath paper, totally destroyed. And so I just thought it was flowers that had, you know, died long ago. I mean, there's nothing that revealed to me that it was anything of sentiment. And it wasn't until after those flowers were gone that the client remembered. So you really want to be specific about things that are important to you. If you've got, you know, ashes or sentimental things from people that have gone away that aren't easy to identify, you really want to be able to let your cleaning crew know about this. Tip number 2, Very, very, very important. Please, please, please do not expect perfection after a big clean out. Now, I generally used mostly professional organizers that are trained in how to organize and make things pretty. But when we're doing a big clean out and there's decades worth of stuff, and please don't expect it to be Martha Stewart's ready. It's really hard to expect that we're going to wash every single dish and put it back just perfectly when things are stacked up to the high ceilings, or to, organize all of your jewelry. I mean, you've got to be really, really realistic. There's going to be a lot left for you to go through. A lot of the times on the big cleanouts, we're just focusing on safety. We don't want you to incinerate in your home. Just recently I was speaking to a friend of mine that's a firefighter, and he was not able to rescue someone last week. A man and his dog died last week because of a hoard in a fire. It also threatened adjacent apartments because he was an apartment unit. So when we're coming in, it's totally number one most important thing to us is safety, is to make sure that you have pathways, and things of that nature. And so you really do not want to expect perfection. Cleanouts are usually about 2 to 7 days. Sometimes they're based on what you can afford. And, there's no way that we can take all of your paperwork and magically file it and figure out what your whole life is like and get it into these perfect file folders in 2 to 7 days. I mean, there's going to be paperwork left for you to go through. There's probably going to be clothing left for you to go through, unless you schedule some sort of maintenance plan after your big clean out, which is something that I always recommend. So for instance, you have your 2 to 7 day clean out. People are removing, tonnage from your home. Everything's kind of in a disarray. And then afterwards, you work one-on-one or with a couple of organizers to get everything to where you want it to be, to go through all your paperwork, to go through the clothing, to go through and organize your jewelry. So in my professional opinion, a big clean out is just for safety. I mean, we try our best. If there's time left over to fold things neatly or to color code your closet, I mean, you guarantee we're going to do it. At least my company will, if there's time after addressing all the safety concerns. We cleaned out, over 20,000 pounds, of debris from a woman's home. I mean, this was just dumpster worth, and a lot of it was actual legitimate garbage. And she was really, really upset because there were some cobwebs that were missed. And she had really high ceilings, so it was pretty impossible unless you had some sort of giant ladder. I mean, it was vaulted ceilings. Some cobwebs were missed, and then some, the refrigerator wasn't pulled out and mopped behind. So this is somebody that had 20,000 pounds of debris removed for their house, but spent most of their time complaining about what didn't get done. And it was really frustrating for us because, we did our best and still it wasn't good enough. So please, 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 don't have such high expectations on your cleanup crew. I'm going to be frank. If you're hiring crime scene cleaners, don't expect them to know how to organize. Don't expect them to perfectly sort everything. I've definitely done my share of work behind crime scene cleaning uppers. And, they're just focused on safety. The number one thing is for safety. Are you safe in your home? So if it requires pretty much bagging things up and moving them into the garage so that your home is safe, that's basically what you're going to get. It's going to be based on your budget. It's going to be based on the level of organization that the people have on the company that you're hiring. And you really want to have these clear expectations. If you expect everything to be 100% perfect and just spick and span, then I want you to vocalize that to a company like mine so that we can reassure you that it's not going to be perfect, that this is decades and decades worth of stuff that you've accumulated, that you've only got 7 days with us, 5 days with us, and we're going to do the very best we can. But the number one thing that we're going to focus on is safety. Tip number 3, expect to do a lot of work. I know you're spending a lot of money. Cleanouts are not cheap. And I know that you have a bunch of trained professionals in your home, but you still have to take massive action. You have to be present. You have to do the work. I mean, this is before the clean out, this is during the clean out, and this is going to be after the clean out. You can't expect us to always read your mind or guess on your behalf. I've noticed that people seem to check out sometimes. You're embarrassed, you're ashamed, you're overwhelmed. Maybe you've taken some opioids, very, very common. And so now you're no longer present with us. And this is really hard for us because we'll ask you to go through things and you'll say, oh, I'll go through them later. That's a big one. Or you say, oh, that's it, everything can go because you're in this different state. And then you really regret the decision that you made or didn't make from not participating as full out as you should have been. So you've got to play full out. You've got to step up. You've got to answer the questions. When we come over and say, hey, can you go through this box of records? We want to know what you want to keep and don't want. Go through it. You're going to be tired. You're going to be overwhelmed. You're going to be ashamed and embarrassed, but you have to step up and take the action and start learning how to go through your things and learn how to make those kind of decisions. And it's not helpful for us for you to tell us that you'll go through it later, because then you just end up with a spare room full of stuff that you'll go through later. And I know a lot of you never go through that stuff. So you really, tip number 3, you've got to take massive action. You've got to do a lot of work. Sitting down, watching Dr. Phil, not helpful to us. Cranking up the music and ignoring us, not helpful. Going in your bedroom to retreat and sleep and feel sorry for yourself, super not helpful. I mean, you've got to be mentally, emotionally present for the job. At least try your best. If you're in pain, try not to take so many pain pills. I know people get really overwhelmed with us coming. I see a lot of Valium. I see a lot of pain pills. And then next thing you know, there's kind of a glazed look on your face and you're not able to make the kind of decisions that we really need you to make. You're either going to overkeep or you're going to get rid of too much stuff and regret it, and that you've got to be present. Tip number 4, not always so fun. If there's biological waste, if there's human feces, human urine on your job, in your home, please let us know. It's really, really hard for us to guess. I definitely ask people, if their bathroom is working and if they have got any plumbing issues, but you've got to be honest and you've got to share. If you've got, bags full of feces, or if you've got buckets full of feces in your bathroom, then please let us know. And here's why. Because a lot of us, I know my company, can't handle biological waste. And so what we do is we call in crime scene cleaners that can just handle that portion, maybe just handle the waste in the bathroom. Or wherever it is. But you can't dispose of human waste at the landfill. And it's not fair to put us into those kind of conditions without us having the right proper protective equipment on either. I know it's embarrassing. I know you feel ashamed. There are lots of people. I have earlier episodes talking about, honey buckets. There are a lot of people in this type of situation. There's absolutely no judgment. I don't judge anyone. Your plumbing goes out. You're too embarrassed to have somebody come over. The thing that makes sense at that time is to use the bathtub or to use the buckets in your bathroom. I've seen intricate systems. I've seen people just flat out using 2-liter bottles and cutting them in half. I've seen so many different creative ways that people dispose of their human waste or keep it in their home contained. And so you've got to let us know. Another reason you want to let us know is because having these kind of outfits come in and help remove the biological waste is actually really expensive. They have to take the waste to a very specialized facility that handles that kind of thing. And I don't have my license to do that. Some of us don't have our license to do that. So you definitely want to share, especially if you're using a professional organizing company like mine. Hey, I've got some hazards. I've got some poop in buckets or whatever you want to say. Please let us know. That way I could let you know that there's going to be this additional fee to have somebody come in and dispose of that, separately from the estimate that I've already created, because you don't want any surprises. It is kind of expensive to have that stuff disposed of. And I can think of one situation where a lady was just really embarrassed. She didn't tell us. Things were floor to ceiling. She was literally climbing along the top with her back brushing the ceiling. That's how packed her home was. And so she was just so embarrassed, and she couldn't afford our services. So her family, her brother, was going to pay for the cleanup. And he was pretty much already overwhelmed and mortified about her situation, really worried about his sister. And so he said, yeah, he would absolutely do the cleanup. I gave him a price, not knowing about all of the biological waste that she had in her bathroom. Basically, she was just going in the tub, and the tub was pretty much overflowing with poop. And so when we finally got to the bathroom through all of this stuff, I had to add extra money onto the estimate, and I had to pretty much expose her for why, because we had to subcontract in some crime scene cleaners at the very end instead of me being able to like discreetly put that in my estimate and include that in my estimate and never tell her brother about it. But she had waited so long that by the time we had gotten to that stuff, it was pretty much a big exposure for her, because I had to explain what the, $3,000-$4,000 extra for getting rid of all that stuff would cost. So definitely tip number 4, if you've got biological waste, there's no judgment. A lot of us are totally used to seeing that, but you've got to come forward and let us know, because otherwise you're going to be surprised. It's going to be a lot more money. Whether people do it in-house or they subcontract it like I do, it's going to be expensive to dispose of that stuff. So I really want you to prepare yourself on having an additional cost for disposing of that kind of waste. Let's see. Tip number 5, you are going to 100% hands down be looking for things. During a big clean out, I usually have 5 or 6 people on my crew, and things get misplaced often, and we're not malicious people. We're not trying to do it. If we think that maybe there's a better location for all of your linens, like maybe the linen closet, then maybe we'll relocate all of everything that we consider linens into the linen closet. So you're definitely going to be looking for things. It's very important that you understand this. We're not mind readers. We try and put things back where it makes sense to us. We try and gather as much input from you as we can. But if you're tuning out and you're not checking out and you're saying just go ahead and get it done, then please don't be angry when you can't find things. A lot of the times I get phone calls and I'm able to walk people through their home. I'm able to call up my crew members and try and locate items. But you definitely are being unrealistic if you think your home is going to be, again, Martha Stewart standards and with everything just super obvious to you. If you kept a million different paper and pens and scissors and things of that sort, then it might just be that we boxed them all up, labeled office supplies, and put them into a safe location in your home. It's not going to be like everything you own is just perfectly accessible if you weren't able to get rid of a lot. So I just want you to be really fair with us and fair with yourself on your expectations for your big clean out. I know that emotions are running really high. It's really not helpful to get angry at us. Like I said, we're not malicious people. We're just there to help. But our number one priority and goal is safety. And aesthetics, organizing, cleaning, that kind of is secondary. Sometimes the cleaning needs to be done in order for it to be sanitary, but sometimes, behind the fridge or underneath the microwave, or maybe some cobwebs up on the very top of your skylight, some things will get missed. So you can't expect 20, 30 years of clutter to just automatically be, removed and cleaned and perfectly organized in just 3 or 4 days. That's not going to happen. And I just feel bad when people are disappointed and they go, well, gosh, there's still so much around here. And it's like, well, hey, you didn't answer us when we asked you if you wanted to keep things or not. So we kept it all. Here it is. It's labeled. Here's, 10 boxes of office supplies. Here's 15 boxes of crafts. You said you wanted to keep all the crafts, so we did. You wanted to keep all your records and your books, so we did. And that's why your home still looks cluttered. So sometimes it's based on the decisions that you've made. Sometimes it's based on you checking out and not communicating with us. And so it's really important to understand that you will be looking for things. It's not going to be perfect after a big clean out unless you have some follow-up and maintenance and communicate really well about what perfection is to you. Another thing that, you want to do is you want to take care of yourself before, during, and after. So I have just 3 quick things I wanted to share with you about caring for yourself, self-care during a big clean out. Now, tip number one, I know a lot of you stay up until midnight, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. I don't know how you do it, but you don't want to do this before your big clean out. I don't care if you have to take melatonin. Go ahead, take some melatonin and get some rest the night before. It's really important that you are well rested. It's also important that you've had your breakfast. You've had some water, coffee, tea, whatever, some sort of fluids, and that you have some sort of medication if you absolutely need it before we arrive. So you're going to want to, also another tip is make sure that you have your purse, your medication, your identification, your passports, if you know where they are, all in a very secure area, whether this is in your bedroom and you point it out to us or you lock it up in your car or whatever. You definitely want to make sure that you have everything that you need as far as medication goes and food goes and your phone, all the things that you really need on a day-to-day, your wallet, in a place where you know where they are. Tip number two, you want to make sure that you have lots of snacks and water on hand. I mean, this is exhausting. I'm not even going to lie. Even if you just sit there and answer all of our questions, you're answering thousands of questions. You're making thousands of decisions, and it is very, very exhausting. And I've seen people be dehydrated and hungry and cranky, and there's just really no need for it. So make sure that you've got, protein bar, protein shake, something like that. Even if you're just too upset and you can't manage a full meal, make sure that you have something with some protein in it close by so that you can have a quick snack during the day, so that you can stop and take a quick lunch if you need to, and definitely have a lot of water. It's very exhausting. A lot of times we have dust, debris being kicked up in the air, so you definitely want to detox, and you definitely want to drink a lot of water throughout the whole process. And lastly, you really, if you have a multiple day clean out, instead of checking out right when we leave, I know a lot of you will, take some time and look around the spaces and say, oh, okay, that's where they put my XYZ. Or, oh my God, I forgot I had this old-fashioned typewriter behind that whole wall of clutter. Let me make sure that I tell my crew that it's really important. It was my grandmother's, I don't. So take some time. If you've got a multiple day clean out, every time your crew leaves, I want you to look around your house. I want you to make notes of anything that you just remembered that's important that you could share with us. Like, I was on day 4 of a job when I realized, only because she told me, so there's it's like packing styrofoam material that comes with wine shipments. And she was saving it in these bags and that kind of stuff. I mean, it's combustible. It's disgusting. I absolutely hate styrofoam. It's, so we were throwing them out. And apparently, she was saving this like styrofoam stuff to stuff her couch cushions. Like, how would I even know that? But once she remembered, she told us, and then we were like, oh, okay. So no longer throwing those out, keeping those to the side. No judgment. You want to stuff your couch cushions with some recycled styrofoam. Thank you for letting us know. So you definitely want to constantly communicate with your cleaning crew. You want to be as upfront. You want to be honest. You want to make lists. This is your house. This is your life. I mean, you're inviting us in to help, but you can't expect so much out of us. I do hope this podcast is helpful to anyone that is expecting to have a big clean out in their home. I personally am available to coach you no matter where you are in the world and help you get ready for a big clean out. You can always reach me, Rachel, Rachel, at collectorcare.com. You can message me on Instagram. I'm at collectorcare1. You really want to make sure that you're emotionally and physically prepared for a big clean out. I hope it's helped anyone that's in trouble with their landlord. Maybe you can start thinking about what to expect. Now you have some tools to help guide you through your big clean out. It's not fun being in trouble with the fire department. It's not fun, having a homeowners association come down on you and make you clean out. But you don't want to get so overwhelmed that you're paralyzed, and then you will just kind of let us free in your home, and then you're disappointed when A, it's not perfect, B, you're looking for things, or I don't know. So just make sure that you're really realistic. This is decades worth of stuff that it took you to accumulate. You only have us in for 3 to 5 days, 7 days. And so let's really make the best of it. And the best outcome for you is to play all out, is to take massive action, is to step up, answer all of our questions, be prepared with a list to share with us, and be prepared to do a lot of work afterwards. After your clean out is when you're going to do the fine tuning. Don't expect to have a bunch of fine tuning done during your big clean out, because you'll be really, really disappointed. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Please leave a comment down in this YouTube comment section. Make sure that you're subscribed. Turn your notifications on. Follow me on Instagram if you want to see my crazy lifestyle and what it's like to be on these big jobs, at Collector Care 1. And remember, collectors, happiness is a place between too little and too much.